Hi there, everyone. This is Lotus Lindley. Happy October. It's fall 2020, and it's so beautiful here in Tulsa. We're having just a magical fall season, which is pretty common here. So, welcome. I haven't been on for a while, and if you haven't listened to me before, I am Lotus, and I am coming to you from Art of Sacred Embodiment. And today, what I really wanted to talk about is we're going to weave a couple things together, but really we're going to touch on the sacred shadow. I don't do a lot of topics about the shadow or really connect with that much anymore. But I just did a class last week, which was really wonderful, and the feedback has been great. And sometimes I just don't have enough time to fit everything in. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the shadow and how amazing it is right now in this time of awakening, in this time of ascension, to be really facing our own shadows, our personal shadows and the collective shadow. I think that the shadow is talked about much more recently in the last couple years, but typically it's gone pretty unnoticed or resisted. Mainly, I believe, I think it's also called spiritual bypassing nowadays. I don't really think it's something that is conscious or purposeful. I think that the resistance actually comes from not having the tools to actually know how to work with our deeper woundings, particularly on our own. Our woundings, our judgments, our anger, our projections. And I really believe that after working with people for decades with this topic, it is really helpful to have deeper understanding and tools with which to do your own processing. But first you have to learn how those processes work. So that's really what this last class that I did was to empower everybody who wants to be empowered to do this deeper work, to clear so that you can gain more freedom in your life. So what I wanted to talk about today has to do with this new level of soul connection that we're really working with right now, and what I am calling sacred intimacy. Shadow work to me is it's a deeply intimate experience and process, and it's very subtle and it's very nuanced for every person. And as a way shower, I was doing shadow work probably all my life, but I just really wasn't conscious of it, because I came in to learn all about certain aspects of being human in order to assist others in my stream of experience and support during the awakening process and ascension process. So, for a good part of my life, I was working with the destructive aspects of my shadow, right? As a very rebellious teenager, very confused, um, with a lot of hurt and anger, a lot of abandonment. These types of things I didn't have words for, I didn't have language for. So I acted out through my alcoholism, through very dysfunctional relationships, both romantic and friendships, also within my family. Things were very dysfunctional, and I was a great source of that. So I worked with it very unconsciously, and I then, at whatever point, about the time that I got sober, it takes, the shadow is our teacher. The shadow shows us where we are separate from our wholeness, where we have been wounded, where we have been hurt, where we hold trauma, where we feel less than, or where we don't have that sense of our own power. And it usually shows us through destructive ways through our life until we begin to turn a corner and start taking responsibility in a new way, right? So we all have our own journey and our own story with our shadows. And mine took becoming sober and at least becoming aware of the dysfunction. And then my shadow went through, or my relationship with my sacred shadow went through resistance. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't know how to look at it. I was in denial. And then I finally moved into acceptance, that I had these deeper wounds that I couldn't just, I couldn't cover up with the look good. I couldn't cover up or make go away without really deeply understanding myself, right? So this is where this intimacy comes in. And right now in our world, we are going through a collective awakening. All of this is my opinion, is my belief. If it resonates with you, fabulous. If not, that's totally fine. I honor that as well, because we all choose whatever experiences that we want in our lives, and we have a right to them. So my belief is that we are in a collective awakening of the collective shadow. We all have varying degrees of what we're aware of, what we're not aware of, work that we've done, things that we've healed, levels of self-rejection, levels of self-negation, because we haven't also learned how to deeply love ourselves and deeply honor ourselves. So without that, we also can't honor and deeply at least respect all of the myriad of perspectives, experiences, beliefs, intentions, all of these things. If we haven't really stepped outside of ourselves or stepped deeply into ourselves, it's very hard to see all of the different perspectives of other people that come from a very different prism, mind view that we have, and everybody has their wounds. So right now, everybody's wounds are flaring, right? And this is coming across with fear, anger, control, violence, all of these things that we're looking outside and saying, this is wrong, this is bad, you are evil, I am good. This action, this belief is wrong, this belief is right? Because this is what the third dimensional paradigm is. It's all about opposition, duality and polarity, and separation. So part of the ascension process, right, is moving out of that, the big chasm of separation, and beginning to move and integrate into more of a wholeness, into more of a neutrality. And neutrality does not dictate right or wrong. It holds space for all experiences and allows the highest good to come from even the shadow. So right now, we're looking at many people being triggered by many different issues. This is actually, in my opinion, from the awakening perspective, necessary and beautiful. All we're all doing such deep soul work at this juncture. 2020 vision, clearer seeing, is really about being able to clear and heal our own darkness. But if we aren't paying attention to the invitation, which is go inside ourselves, go inside here and inquire and ask the questions of why I'm afraid here, why I believe this, why this is right or wrong, why I believe that this agenda is harmful and this agenda is helpful. And then we have to go even deeper by saying, this is where the intimacy comes in. What is it in me that this is creating so much turmoil and turbulence in my emotional landscape? Why is my psyche feeling so threatened by this person's stance? Or why is my very life and well-being feeling so in danger by the community of my brothers and sisters? Okay, so we have to start really dialing in, because this is the only way that we're going to get free. We aren't going to find freedom from trying to control the system, other people, circumstances, and events. We think that we are, because this is the old system and paradigm and consciousness that we've been living in, that's been part of our evolution. But we're in a very, very different place in our evolution right now. And that soul level that's ready to escort us, right, into a more deeper and higher connection to source, to our own empowerment, to love, to unification, to harmony and balance, is inviting something very new from us. It's inviting us into territory that the majority of us haven't really stepped into, and maybe we didn't even know that it existed. Maybe we haven't even known that there's this whole other paradigm of being in relationship with ourselves, so that we aren't trapped in the outside energies and the drama and the play that we believe is very real, because we're only operating from a limited human experience and perspective. So, all of that being said, all of the masters, all of the teachings have pointed us inward for thousands of years. So this isn't new, but we just don't always understand, how do we go inwards? And one of just the, I want to just kind of put out there some invitations for us, because we can always go deeper. And until we've cleared whatever is compelling us and propelling us to keep engaging in things that are causing us division and pain, and suffering within ourselves and with the outside world. So the ways in which I've worked with this, and then invite clients to deepen their own inner experience, is through questions. right? So if we have a situation that is clearly in our perspective wrong, right? It's violating human rights, human kindness. It's violating in some way, shape, and form our own sovereignty, our own ability to have our own say in our life. And this is, we're seeing this in a lot of different ways. So I'm not gonna pull in different topics because we're all well aware of what's happening in the world on many different levels. And the important thing is for you to take your own version and begin asking the questions. So I'm just going to pose a few of them out here. And these are questions that I ask myself. And why are questions important? And why is accepting our shadow important? If I'm busy just judging and projecting and running on adrenaline and my own constricted anxiety, or my beliefs, or, you know, this is the way that it has to be, or this person is wrong, this person is right. If I'm functioning in that way, there is no space energetically for new information to come in, for higher revelation to take place. So first we have to accept that what I'm suffering inside myself is not because of the person outside of me. I am feeling this anger and this rage or fear because there's something in me that is resembling this, whatever I'm seeing. I've been through situations similar and I have trauma, this life or past lives or past timelines, however we want to look at that. And what are my survival fears? Okay. So I have talked about this a little bit when we started 2020, but I think it's important to revisit it because, you know, 6-7 months later, we're wound even more tightly in the contractions of our own ability, I think, to really relax and allow new ways of perceiving or investigating have been deeply challenged. So here are some of the things that I ask myself and that I ask clients, and I'm just going to pose them as being posed to you. All right. So when you look at your fear, all right, what is it that is underneath the fear? And there's, you know, this is a whole process that we work with, but I'm just going to like share with you some of the common things that are underneath fear. So we have fear of being powerless. Okay. And if we're powerless, that means underneath the powerless, we are fearful that something very bad is going to happen if we somehow lose our power, right? If one team somehow gains more power, we have a fear of powerlessness that something bad is going to happen. So what we have to do is we have to wind ourselves down through meditation, through writing, maybe even, you know, with assistance, to find out what is the root of that fear. Because until you understand what is going to happen if you are powerless, until you get under there, you are going to be unconsciously, subconsciously thrown around your life by that. And it's going to look like it's all these things outside of you, but it's not. It's inside. Okay. So when you're judging, okay, when you're judging that somebody is good or bad, that somebody is behaving appropriately and another person is not behaving appropriately, okay, so we want to understand, again, well, what is it that if I believe this person is behaving inappropriately, first of all, who is deeming that inappropriate? I am, right? Or you are. You're deeming this behavior inappropriate based on what? Okay, so we have to start understanding why we are behaving and feeling and thinking the ways in which we do. So what is it that you are deeming inappropriate? Now, maybe somebody is behaving inappropriately, as many people in power do, as many people, you know, walking around. And I'm using the inappropriate as a purposeful judgment and projection simply from my prism, from my understanding, from my experience, from my own conditioning. And then if we take it further, again, there's probably an element of, I want them to behave the way that I think is appropriate because I otherwise feel out of control. Perhaps I feel in danger, okay? Perhaps I feel, again, that I have a duty or a right, okay, to stand up for something. But again, that's only based on my or your perspective. We all come with our own experiences, lessons, and we come karmically with the ways in which we are in the world to support, right, our own balancing or harmonizing from past timelines or experiences or choices. So we want to find out, why, again, do I feel somehow powerless, or that I have a right to project or speak my judgment upon somebody else's experience, existence, in a way that isn't a give and take, because I'm asking, because I truly want to know, well, I wonder what experiences in your life created what I perceive as being very insensitive behavior. What pain have you not acknowledged? And then if I have a lot of anger, I have to turn it around. Or if you have a lot of anger and rage, you have to turn it around and say, wow, why does this stir me up so much, right? Why do I feel like I'm about to explode over this behavior? And I'm not saying that any behavior is that behavior that, once again, violates another being in any way, shape, or form is to be made, is to not be given its due responsibility or accountability. But that can be done without me getting so irate. And most likely, if I am so desperate for that individual, that system, that belief to be held accountable, there's something in me that is unresolved in unaccountability in my life. Maybe I haven't taken full responsibility for something that I've done, or maybe I haven't resolved in myself where somebody has trespassed on me and not taken responsibility or accountability. So we often are taking all of our baggage and we're going to pile it into the here and now, and it has nothing to do with the here and now. Okay, so that's another example. So then we can start looking, and this is, I think, very, very prominent, right? That there is a fear that is building based on, and I've talked about this many times, based on what I believe is a lack of a deeper relationship to death. And when we have not dealt with our mortality, that can loom very, very big, right? So if I am terrified of my brothers and sisters in the world in which we live together, even if during this time where, yes, there are appropriate measures to be taken for our health and well-being. But if I'm recognizing that I am feeling more and more terrified to even be, 10 feet away from somebody, or to be demanding certain things from other people who are 20 feet away from me, or that I can't even look at people in the eyes anymore because I am just riddled with levels of fear. This is something that I see is happening, and I think that the chances that a lot of people are going to suffer from post-traumatic stress, PTSD, based on not really deeply exploring what it is that they're experiencing inside their own body and their thoughts and their heart. So I've covered everything rather generically, I think, but I think that also everybody has an idea of the more detailed contexts going on. And so I'm introducing these because this is where we have to get really intimate. This is part of the opportunity that we have been given to, we can look at, I look at the quarantine as sort of, just coming into my little ashram, coming into my sacred space, coming into my own deepening of my own spiritual awakening, by really using this time to go as deep as I can into any remaining shadow tendencies that have been left unexplored or that I didn't even know existed until now, right? So the beauty of this is it's showing all of us everything that's inside of us. And we have choices in how we want to work with this. Again, we're at this pivotal time. This next couple months from the Ascension perspective is delivering those of us who are really doing this deep work into greater potentials of consciousness expansion, and functioning from a different, very different perspectives and ways of understanding and experiencing life and ourselves. Not anymore as limited human beings, but as the spiritual beings, right? That we chose to have human experiences. So this is an ongoing process. And sometimes I use the term, if you want to jump on the bus, now's the time. And I recognize that term has felt maybe insensitive to some people, or that it has evoked their own anxiety that somehow they're going to miss the boat, right? They're going to miss the bus. That's not really what it means. What it means is that we just have this open window, and the first bus is heading through. And those of us on the bus that have done all of this deep work are here to support and model a very new way of relating and being of service in this world, based on very different principles and systems from what we've known for thousands of years. So through these next couple months, we're going to be hitting, we just came through the 10-10, we're going to be hitting the 11-11 portal, the 12-12, which is of course November 11th, and then December 12th, and then winter solstice. So these are times when we're turning up the dials energetically. And many people are, if you're conscious of what's happening, you're feeling the screws kind of tighten, which in essence what's doing is it's pushing more and more stuff to the surface. Everything that comes to the surface is an invitation to take your view, to take your attention from outside and say, what is this teaching me about me? How do I free myself from this thought form, energy, turmoil, suffering? And what part of me wants to remain in a state of suffering? So this is the deep shadow work that we're doing now. This is the intimacy of our soul connection that we're being beautifully ushered into. And there's grace. We all have grace, but we have to take self-responsibility. There will be people who will turn their power over. And most of the time, when we are turning our power over, when we aren't claiming our power, when we don't feel, right, that we're centered in our own ability to really have faith and trust ourselves, that we don't have the faith and trust to really know and know that life, right, life with the capital Life, is actually here to support us, and that all of this crisis is here to support us. But as long as we're dumping our energy and our focus and our attention into the fray, we are disempowering ourselves. And that's a choice that we're making, whether we're aware of it or not. So this is kind of this invitation, right, to become more aware of how we're operating. So with that being said, I want to wind this down to a close. It is time for humanity to step more into accountability. And one of the first levels that we can all do on a personal level is do our shadow work. The more that we heal our own shadow, the more we heal all of our relationships. The more that we heal and know who we are, on the full spectrum of our own darkness and light, the more that we're able to come into more light, hold more light, meaning hold higher levels of consciousness that are vibrating with the frequencies of faith and trust and love and harmony and higher knowing. And when that happens, we have less and less triggers inside of us. We have greater perspectives with which to see. So we aren't going to be rendered powerless and fearful about what's happening outside of us. And this is a part of the ascension process. This is what is necessary to get on the ascension bus. Whether it's this bus or train, or whether it's the other ones that will be pulling out of the garages or train stations down the road. So if you don't know how to do this work on your own, it's very important, in my opinion, to know how, to learn how, to find that person that you resonate with, to get some kind of tutorial, right, to empower you. And so that you can start making empowered choices, so that you can start being accountable in your life in a deeper soul way, not just by taking external actions. Those are short-lived. The transformation happens inside to create the bigger change. It's not an instant fix, but it is the greater healing, which is what the ascension process is guiding us as humanity on this planet into. So this has definitely gone on longer than I wanted, but I hope that it is all helpful. So you can find this class. You can contact me directly. Just go to my website. My email is there, lotuslindley.net. The Art of Sacred Embodiment. You can find me on Facebook, Lotus Lindley. You can always message me, follow or friend me so that I get your message. And I will get that class to you. And if you need to do deeper work, then you can always talk with me about doing a package of sessions. I am no longer doing shadow work specifically, but it's always woven into my work as needed. But if you haven't really started this process, I can help jumpstart you, but then you might need to find somebody who is doing mostly this, this piece of the journey, okay? So again, thank you so much. And I hope that if the shadow work feels daunting, that this begins to bring more peace and clarity about it, and that you can start to feel your own grace of your own spirit and soul that is really inviting you to come more fully into your own love. Okay? So with that, have a wonderful, wonderful day, evening, whatever it is, wherever you're at, whenever you're watching. And I will see you again. Blessings.